Are players being priced out of the market, or are these cards still affordable? Hi everyone, welcome back. MTG Moxman here. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are in the world of Magic the Gathering. You know, when it comes to reserve list cards, especially the expensive ones, a lot of players will complain that they can't afford it, too pricey, too expensive of a card. To buy one card can cost thousands of dollars, and that really does seem out of reach. Or is it really? Is it really that out of reach? Have you taken a look? Have you compared? Guess what? Inflation takes hold. Things change. These cards are on sale right now. Most players don't realize it. The reserve list cards everyone's like complaining about that are too expensive are actually on sale. They're at a discount. Not every card, mind you. Some cards. And you really do have to pay attention. But there are many cards right now, useful cards that can be played in formats like Commander that have real value and will continue to have value long after the prices catch back up to these cards and they spike because they are an asset. As much as players might like to think they're just cardboard, they have a history to them. They have a provenance to the card. They have value long term because this game is collectible and there are players out there who have the funds to buy these cards. Guys, let's take a look. Let's focus on some of these amazing cards that are kind of on sale right now. And it doesn't matter how expensive they are. It doesn't matter how reasonable or unreasonable a price may look to you at home right now. I'm telling you, these cards are a steal right now, and that's why I'm showing them to you. Let's get started. So if you guys have been living under a rock for a while and you've forgotten this card from Stronghold, here we have Mox Diamond. Now guys, this is its own powerhouse. I didn't recognize the significance of this card when I was younger back in 2013, getting back into the game. I didn't recognize it. And this is one of the cards that really kicked me in the heels later on when I saw what the value was and what it was going up to. I remember this card being 20 bucks, 10 bucks, then 50, then 100, then 150, then 200. And then I said, oh, it's too expensive. I'm not going to buy it. When this thing peaked over $1,000, I started to realize how high this card could really go, how far people are willing to take cards in their collection when they're near mint, playable, and can really alter the game state when you're using it correctly. I don't think anyone can doubt that this card is going to go to $2,000 in the future. And the best part is you have the history right in front of you on your screen that tells you it's going to go higher. You already know that it's not going to stay here. And that's what makes this card the best. When you look at the history of old cards and you see how things have played out, you know where they're going. Tabernacle at Pendrell. Guys, another card that you can look at from Legends and say, wow. Now, as a kid, I hated this card. I didn't understand it. It didn't fit in my decks. I didn't know why it was considered good. Again, years later, you recognize how great this card is. Now, if you're trying to buy this card, I understand that looking at that price and seeing $4,149, but I said buy this card to play with. You notice I didn't say collector. I didn't say a BGS graded copy, a PSA 10. I said play with this card. When you want to play with a card, you can look for heavily played. You can look for an Italian copy. You need something that is real, but it also has to be within the budget. You can cut that price in half. You don't have to pay $43.99. You can even go on eBay right now. You can look on TCG Player, find an Italian copy, pay less than half. Find a heavily played copy, you're going to pay what, $2,200-$2,300? And I know it seems like a lot of money, and it is. But when you start factoring in what inflation has done to the world in the last several years, and especially since this card's been released, and you tell me that's not going to be a good investment for your money, yes, it's speculative. Don't get me wrong. It is. You could lose it all. You could lose your shirt. Have to work at Taco Bell. But guys, I really doubt that this card is headed that direction, and this game definitely is not. Anyone who tells you otherwise is probably selling you something. Here we have Elephant Graveyard, Arabian Nights, another card that peaked... This thing was what, $600, $700 at one point? And now it's at $300 and change. And the best part about cards like this, nobody sees it coming. All right, it's Arabian Nights. It's really old. Tap to add one colorless mana. So you can use this in any deck. That's great. But if you're playing with mammoths or elephants, you can regenerate them for free. This is better than so many other cards that cause regeneration. You can literally just regenerate a creature. That is something that just cannot be underestimated. And another good side of this is Wizards still makes elephants and mammoths. They still give us this stuff. They still pump out cards that get more and more powerful that now become even more sick when you base it on a land that not only taps for colorless but can actually just regenerate things. And you can find this card for like $200 Canadian, heavily played. Guys, that's not a big checkbook balance payment to make when you're putting off against cards like, Shoulder the Apocalypse for like $65 Canadian. It's just 2 of them, right? Plus a little bit of tax. With trade-in value, cards like this are very attainable. They are not hard to get anymore, and that's the coolest part about it. Mishra's Workshop, Brothers War is coming up. You guys know you're all super stoked and excited to play this amazing new sector of Magic and the history and the lore. But take a look at the Workshop. You can find this thing. You see the $36.99. Everyone just thinks it's so intimidating in the US pricing. That's over $4,000, Mox, man. That's ridiculous. How about $2,100? How about $19.90 for heavily played? And depending on the heavily played, they can still look really good, by the way. Because I am saying to play with these. This is used in Commander. Okay, these cards are actually cards that can be played in formats in semi-competitive ways still that you can get your hands on. And let's face it, I can't believe that this thing's not banned. But, hey, let's go ahead and ban other cards like Tolarian Academy. Don't get me started. But you look at that and you see that huge price tag, it scares people away. But you can get it for less than $2,000 Canadian. You just got to look around, wait for a heavily played copy, talk to people on Facebook groups, look at who's bored of having a card, needs a little bit of quick buck. That's the way to go. Okay, that's the way. These cards are attainable, and when you look at where these cards have been, when you're seeing these cards at $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, don't tell me this is not a discount. Don't tell me it's not a deal. Island of, I love saying this, Whack Whack. I know, Aflac. Here we go, the Island of Whack Whack, Arabian Nights again. Now, I'll be honest, I got my copy from 401 Games for $140. I got it before the huge, massive upswing, and I didn't care. I needed it for my collection anyway. The Island of Whack Whack's a little bit more interesting. It doesn't tap for mana naturally, okay? There are cards nowadays like Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, Yawgmoth. There are things that can make them tap for mana, which is great. Still, you have to have a couple of cards that would make that work for you. But this does reduce a flying creature's power to 0. And that's amazing. It doesn't say with counters on it and stuff. It just goes to 0. So you wait till that thing's coming in. You wait till they've pumped up everything and go, okay, it's 0. It's amazing. Like, I love that ability to have that happen. I'm sure they could pump it up afterwards. I'm sure you can get caught still. But the idea of reducing the damage on a card like this. Now, this card is still expensive. It has still spiked up. It's really dropped down. But the cards you're seeing there are kind of BGS rated copies. When you look at this one, you can have it heavily played for around $400, okay? It's not as cheap as you'd like it to be, but it's not as expensive as it's going to be. I don't know if you guys have noticed, Arabian Nights have been bought out for a while, and there's not a lot left out there. It's just the way the game is played. Word of command. Guys, I command you to pay attention to this card. People always forget that Word of Command did not make it into Revised. It's only there for Unlimited, Alpha, Beta, and Collector Edition, International Edition. This card is 2 black mana and it's an instant. Come on! You may look at a target's opponent's hand and choose any card he or she could play using mana legally from their mana pool or mana rocks. You can make them tap soul rings and stuff, right? An opponent must play this card immediately and you make all decisions that this spell calls for. This spell cannot be countered after you've looked at the target opponent's hand. So as soon as I look at a hand, there's nothing you can do. The Word of Command is going to go off. It's amazing, guys. This card can make a lot of friends in Commander or a lot of enemies. Don't underestimate cards like this. You can find heavily played copies for $200. You can find a collector edition copy for $120. It's disgusting. All right, Drop of Honey, Arabian Nights. Now, the funny thing about this is, technically, I think this card's been reprinted. They did a card called Prophesary Nodes. Now, Prophesary Nodes does the exact same thing as Drop of Honey, except for this is green and that card is white. So there are differences, but it's still the same card. I like having both in a deck to really mess people up, okay? I really enjoy it. But this is the original. This one is Arabian Nights, and you're talking some serious money. This one has not dipped as much as other cards, but right now it is trending down, which is why I'm mentioning it in the video today. I think it's going to drop for a little bit, which can make it more attainable for players. And remember, these are near mint copies. Go ahead, find yourself a heavily played play copy that you can use in your deck. Drop a Honey, of course, is 1 green, and then read that beauty and say, yep, in an anti-creature deck, this can be amazing, but at the same time, if you only are using small creatures, it really won't affect you that badly, and you can keep it in play for a very long time. I love Drop a Honey, and at 845 bucks, I know it seems expensive, but you can always find the cheap version, the Professary Nodes, and then wait and build up to this, and probably get it for around 450 to 500 bucks for a heavily played copy. Now, our next card is the Abyss. I understand. Some of you guys already have Abyss. You're like, ha, I have one. But for those who don't, yeah, the Magnus of the Abyss is okay. You can go for the Italian copy. This was printed in Italian. And you can save yourself probably, I think you can get it for around $700 to $800 for a near mint Italian copy. But you can find a heavily played copy for around $600. You can find an English heavily played copy. Honestly, it's about 800 bucks still. It's pretty expensive. But this is a card you only have to buy one of and then hold on to. And then watch as the future unfolds for cards like this. All the cards I'm showing you guys have long histories of showing their value and showing where they go. The Abyss has been as high as almost $3,000, guys. This is no joke. Cards like this, they have long histories. They're cards that people seek them. They want to get them for their collections. And let's face it, so many just aren't available, okay? When buyouts happen, when people start seeking these cards out, it's usually too late. You have to look when things are down and decide that's the time to get them. And the same can be said for Eureka. This is from Legends as well. $699 US for a near mint copy. But you can find heavily played copies for around 400 bucks. An Italian copy for 340. I think it's on eBay. Guys, you have to look around. TCG Player had some deals too. When you look at cards like this and you recognize that these can alter and actually you can build decks around just this card to have amazing game effects go off with your friends. I gotta say, I love Eureka. Always have. I got it when I got it early on in my career, and I held on to my copy. I still have it to this day. It wasn't a very expensive card back then. I bought a couple of copies for 40, 50 bucks back in 2008, 2009. But I look at Eureka and just say, man, E does equal MC square, and you can get that card for 340 bucks Italian, maybe 500 and change Canadian for a heavily played copy. Like, guys, not that bad of a price, okay? The last card I want to share with you guys today is going to be the Candelabra of Tawnos. This card should be way higher. Okay, that's why I put it last. This card should not be. You can find this thing for, I think, $800 for a heavily played, $800 Canadian for a heavily played copy on things like eBay. This should not be this price, even a heavily played copy. Because this thing can untap so many lands that are so highly effective nowadays that people just forget what this card can do. And it's legal in Commander. Things like this can mess people up. Okay? When you're untapping some crazy land that does multiple play effects, wow, like Mishra's Workshop type style lands, or if you're playing with things like Sarah's Sanctum, which, that's legal, but Tolarian Academy's not. I get it. Disgustingly powerful game effects can happen. People always forget that cards like this are just broken. They're amazing. They are phenomenal, and they remind me of my youth and playing and what I used to do with stuff like this. I look at it and say, wow, that thing's like near mint for $1,200-1,300 bucks. I think I saw it for 1,400 Canadian for a near mint copy. 1,400 does not seem like a lot after all these years and how small the print run is for this set. It's not like it's coming around again. And they've never really given us a card that breaks it the same way. And I know a lot of these cards to you out there will seem unattainable, too hard to get, impossible, Max. What are you talking about? I'm not spending $4,000 on a card. I feel the same way. I do. But when you start looking at the trade value of many of your cards, the sales volume value of the cards that people are looking for, look around, see how much trade value you have. Look around, see what the LGSs will give you on bonus trade-in days, and work your way up. That's how a lot of people now get to their power cards. They're going to reprint Dockside Extortionist. Jeweled Lotus is coming back around. But that candelabra is not coming back. Mishra's workshop, it's not coming around again. They are what they are. They're legacy. They're broken. They're disgustingly powerful cards, and they deserve to be. They're the beginning history of Magic. They're what everything else wishes it could be. And that's why players seek them out. That's why I want them. So I can play with them and enjoy them. And if you want them, you can get them. Work up to them. Work up to them. You can do it. Guys, have an awesome day. These cards are just flipping awesome. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with the Mox Man today. Hope you guys had a great time with the video as much as I enjoyed putting it together for you, because patrons make this possible. Never forget that. It's the patrons. What, you guys are here at the end? What? What? I know. Sometimes you try to throw people off the scent. You don't want people knowing what's going in there. You want only a few people to be aware of it. Because I had like 400 people enter last time. It was crazy. Not everyone made the cut, but a lot of people tried. Pay attention to what goes in that 20K box if you're here at the end of the video. History tells us things. Pay attention. Have an awesome day.